I'm Corinne Rafferty. I'm Director of Programs at IATP. Welcome to the discussion on law and law enforcement. We're honored to have Assistant Chief Tomas Smith from the St. Paul Police Department. He's served 20 years with the police department and worked in several different positions and in different task forces, including Narcotics and Gang Unit Supervisor, Chief Inspector in the Chief's Office, Patrol Supervisor, Patrol Commander, SWAT Commander, and Training Unit Commander. He has a BA in Public Relations and graduated from the Federal Bureau of Investigation National Academy in 1996. So he'll be leading the discussion. I hope you all will join in and ask questions and make it a true discussion. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Let me know if I'm speaking too fast. I want this to be an interactive dialogue, and I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the successful partnerships, collaborations, and positive relations that we've achieved in the St. Paul Police Department with our St. Paul Somali community, including first ever establishing a St. Paul Somali Advisory Council, which works with both our department and also with the mayor's office in the city of St. Paul. But what I wanted to do first, and I know I'm supposed to talk a little bit about gangs and crime prevention, and that's exactly what we will do. I want to show you, see if this will pop up right. And we'll fix this in a little bit. I don't know what happened. That's my glass, huh? This is what relationship building is all about, and I really want people to understand that. This is people from our St. Paul Somali Advisory Council at Skyline Towers with Mayor Chris Coleman from the city of St. Paul. And if you were going to start a relationship with new diverse communities, and St. Paul is very used to this, as we have the largest Hmong community in the entire nation. We also have St. Paul, Minneapolis, the largest Somali population of any cities in the nation in the United States. So we're used to doing a lot of outreach work. And this is where it starts, building not only partnerships, but more importantly, building friendships. And I'll just show you a few of the pictures. We have some of these people with us today. Mohammed, that's a very good pose there. Can you make it bigger? There we go. And we'll leave that up for a second, because it's so important to develop these relationships. Whether you live in Minneapolis, whether you live in St. Cloud, whether you live in Moorhead, Minnesota, it doesn't matter. You have to develop the relationships with your diverse communities so that you understand each other. And that's what we're going to talk a little bit about today. I'm just going to get out of the way here, and I can click these through here. These are meetings that we've had and held with the St. Paul Somali Community Advisory Council and our greater Somali population in the city of St. Paul. I'm going to give you a little history. I'm going to go through this very quickly, but you'll understand more as we go through this. In 2003, we really started to do our outreach work in the Somali community in the city of St. Paul. We had over 800 Somali residents that lived. There we go. He can help me out here. I'm not.
I think this is the way it works. Yeah.
There we go.
And then if you just press this down arrow, that'll
It'll
take
go
you
down
forward.
each one. And we had to, again, we started our outreach work, and I've got to tell you, it was very frustrating. I was a senior commander in charge of the largest patrol precinct in the city of St. Paul. city. And I had beat officers and other people that went to areas where our Somali friends were living, specifically in Skyline Towers. But I had one problem. I had no interpreter. I had no one that I could talk to. I met many of the elders in the building. I met my friends in the building, but we could not speak as the way we should be able to speak between each other. So in 2003, although I had beat officers there.
Excuse me, Chief?
Yes.
Do you mind using the mic? Because we're
Sure.
recording it for posterity. Thanks.
Even though we had beat officers at that facility, we still had not established a strong relationship yet. We also knew that there were some issues that we had to address, which we'll talk about this morning. We had a lot of local St. Paul Somali youth that were being recruited into gang activity, primarily by people that were coming across the river from Minneapolis. So it was very interesting dynamics. And again, I talked about we assigned beat officers to selective locations in the city, both Skyline Towers in the western portion of our city of St. Paul and the Afton View and Shamrock Apartments on the east side. Very interesting, again, the St. Paul Police Department, and you know, as cops sometimes we are used to identifying problems, but we have to do the outreach work and work with different communities to solve them. If we believe that we can solve the problems ourselves, we don't get anywhere. And that's where I was really frustrated. I thought, I need someone to help me be able to translate, to find out really what the issues are in the Somali community, not the ones that I identify every day by seeing the crime data, but I wanted to find out from my Somali friends what were the problems that they were having themselves with their youth, with different resources that they might need, and that kind of started us down a long path. You want to do it? Okay. So we talked about identifying an interpreter was very important. We did that early on. My good friend Garrett Ibrahim, who's in the back of the room here, and Mohammed Wardi right here, helped and assisted me finally in doing some interpreter work so that I could meet with the elder group. First meeting I went to, I'll just tell you a brief story, was 2004. And I went to an elder group meeting at Skyline Towers. There were 11 elders there. I think they looked at me and said, it's very interesting. I came with another commander, and I looked at them and said, very interesting. And we all sat stone-faced and didn't say anything until we broke the ice. And we established a long friendship that continues to this day because it was about sharing. I'm not a federal law enforcement officer, even though I've gone and attended different federal schools. I'm a local St. Paul police officer that wanted to do outreach work in our community. You're going to hear that over and over and over again because I realize some of the issues, including here in St. Cloud, in Wilmer and Albert Lee, where there are different issues where sometimes I believe this. If we don't reach out to address issues, those issues reach out and address us. And I found that to happen in my 27 years in the law enforcement profession. Again, Garrett, next slide, please. We held a series of meetings with our local Somali leaders. That was the key piece. Once we had our 2 interpreters, we could hold these meetings. And we identified the issues that Somali elder group told us were affecting them greatly within the community. One of the things that we had to do immediately was to address a 911 issue. Number one, we created the St. Paul Police Department, a 911 brochure in the Somali language. But what I didn't realize, again, because this is a learning process, is that many of our Somali friends that moved to St. Paul or that came to this country were told to call 911 for any single reason. That might mean you have a pipe that broke, water pipe in your house or your apartment, call 911.